Hi guys, it's Tom here. Hope you're all well and keeping safe. Our journey today brings us to Erith in southeast of London to catch up with a gentleman by the name Basco. A few years ago, after being a council tenant for 5 years, he took advantage of the government buying scheme, Right to Buy. Since then, life hasn't been the same. He's gone on to build a decent portfolio of properties. Within his portfolio, he's got some HMO and he's also got single let. We're here to catch up with Basco and find out his journey so far. He also manages other people's properties. What's happening, bro?
What's up?
Do you want to talk us through how this all started?
Wow, where do I start from? So, many years ago, whilst I was doing my degree, my Mrs. Monica, so she was working with a company and some of her colleagues were buying their residential home. So she came home, with the energy that, we should also start looking to buy our residential home.
Okay.
But at the time, I had no clue about acquiring property. The rumor, I think at the time, I heard from people within my circles was that, if you go for a mortgage and you're unable to meet up with the payment, the property will be repossessed and all of that. So it wasn't something I was looking forward to. Not only that, the fact that I was also doing my degree and I didn't want any financial commitments that probably will hinder or probably add a bit of pressure on the course I was doing. So then in my mind, it was no. But as you know, how sometimes, wives can have their way. So I was dragged to view few properties.
Okay.
Which was good. It was good. But in my mind, it was no. So I think for some reason I managed to convince Monica that we shouldn't, pursue.
Okay.
Acquiring our own property and then stay renting whilst I get my course done. Fast forward from there, we were in a shared accommodation where I think we knew the landlord, and in our minds we were calculating. We made we did a maths to find out how much would this couple be making from the property. So that gave us rough idea what property could do for you.
Okay.
But having said that, we still didn't have knowledge about property. Again, fast forward from there, we were lucky to become council tenants.
Okay.
But before we even got the accommodation from the council, we were lucky to have a couple, Elder Nihi and Elder Bumi, who we call our mentors.
Okay.
At the time. So Elder Nihi was very knowledgeable in property, said to us from the very onset that once we're given this property, we have to start working to buy it. So we got the keys with the end in mind. So we got the property. It's like, okay, yeah, we will work towards buying this property. So we had the end in mind. So whilst living in a flat in London as tenant, we were working towards buying it, whenever we're ready. So 5 years down the line, we went through the right to buy, and then we managed to secure the flat.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. With regards to actually acquiring that property, there's talks that council tenants, when they get the opportunity to buy their property, there isn't any deposit purely because of some of the discount or the privileges that you will get from the government. Is that true?
To a large extent, yes.
Okay.
So at the time, because we had been tenants for 5+ years, we had a maximum discount. So that meant we didn't really need a deposit
Okay.
at the time when we acquired it.
Okay.
So yes, so it worked really well for us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just to confirm, so you needed to be a council tenant for a continuous period of 5 years before you could buy that particular property?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to be a tenant for a good 5 years.
Okay.
It's just that the 5 years gives you the maximum
discount. Fantastic.
So that's what we did.
Right. And in terms of the discount, what would that be if a tenant stays for the maximum period or for the 5 years? What are some of the numbers?
Right. Okay. So I think at the moment I'm not really sure of the figures, but at the time, I think it was the Conservative government had introduced, getting 50% discount on the asking price.
Right.
However, there was a cap. There's a cap. Though your discount was 50%. So for instance, it was if the property was 200,000, you get discount of 50%, which would be 100,000. However, there was a cap. I think in London, it was around 100,000 at the time. So yes, so you could only get a discount up to that amount.
Fantastic.
So we went ahead. We secured it. Yeah.
Great stuff. And then from there, what happened after that point?
Right. Even let me backtrack a little. We missed an opportunity whilst living in a flat, again because of lack of knowledge. Because whilst we were living on that flat, a flat became available on the ground floor. It came on the market at the time, and I was interested in securing that flat purely to rent it out.
Right.
But when I did the maths, I noticed the rent couldn't cover the mortgage.
The mortgage, right.
Right. At the time, I knew little about what's it called, buy to let, that you could pay interest on.
Interest only,
because
right.
I was looking at
Capital repayment.
Capital repayment, so paying the interest as well as the actual capital, and then the rent at the time couldn't, So I didn't have friends who were well knowledgeable, so therefore we didn't go for it. So the property at the time, the property was on the market for 225.
Okay.
I approached the vendor, and I expressed interest. And then he said if I was interested, the fact that I was on the same block, he would be able to sell it directly to me without getting the agent involved.
Right.
So at the time, I offered 190, and the vendor turned it down.
Okay.
But again, because I wasn't knowledgeable, I didn't up my offer.
Right.
So
purely on the numbers.
Purely on the numbers.
Right.
Purely on the numbers. But again, if I had knowledge on buy to let, then of course the figures would have stuck up because I'll only be paying the interest
rather than the capital.
So a lady came in and offered 215.
Right.
And got the property. So 4 years down the line, guess what? So she was living there with the boyfriend. They had a baby, and so they had outgrown the flat and decided to sell. So they got the property at the time for 215. 4 years down the line, they decided to sell it. Guess how much they sold the property for?
320, thereabout.
Surprisingly, the property sold for 410.
410, so close to 100%.
So close to
return on
100%.
investment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's impressive.
So having been able to secure our flat, after a few years, we had, we were outgrowing the flat basically, because we had 2 kids. Our first child, daughter, was approaching secondary school,
Okay.
and then we were considering having a house with more space, also a place close to like decent school, possibly grammar schools and stuff. So yes, so the plan was to hold on to our flat, and then hold on to it, rent that out, and then move and then buy a house, and that's what we did.
We did, okay.
And yeah, and then from there,
So not having owned the council one that you purchased
Yeah.
for up to 5 years, was it acceptable for you to be able to rent it out and then move on to buy a second property?
So once we secured it, we lived in it for a couple of years.
Okay.
But as I said, we were outgrowing the flat. It's 2-bed flat, and we had 2 kids at the time. So we needed space. But even more so, good schools, because as I said, our daughter was approaching secondary school. We're considering if we could get her into grammar school.
Yeah.
So yes, so we started pursuing. But you know what? Let me give credit to Monica.
Okay.
As you know, she's a go-getter. I'm a bit risk averse. I take calculated risk. So I think one time I came back from work, and then she said, the time to move is now. And like, so not yet. We have a few years.
Yep.
She ignored me. Another time when I came back from work, she had already booked agents. She had registered with agents around Kent area.
Okay.
She's booked viewing for few properties. She has made my dinner and then put it in the car. So she knew the time I would getting home. She packed the kids in the car, my dinner in the car, got to the house. They were already waiting. I just needed to jump in for us to go view property. So then, we started viewing, and then, by the grace of God, we managed to.
Here we are.
We managed to secure it here.
Nice.
And the rest has
been
history.
Fantastic. Now, if there's any advice that you would give anyone, okay, so any local authority tenants out there. Now, for you, those of you who don't know about local authority and renting schemes, if you're watching from America or from other parts of the world, is a government subsidized rental scheme. Okay, and like Basco explained, that once you've lived in it for a period of time, then you get the opportunity to actually apply to purchase it and get a discount. Now, if there's any advice that you give anyone out there at all who has become a local authority tenant, being able to purchase that property, what can it do for you? How well can it set you up in life?
I think if everyone's situation is different, but if you are in a position where you are able to, secure and buy your council house that you live in, I would advise you go for it. Reason being because the discount you be given, that in itself an equity for you. Okay, so from the onset that you buy the property, the discount is an equity for you, and you have to also live in it for good 5 years to be able to pull out any equity. But I think anything less than that, I think in London, you probably I think the government. Don't quote me on that, but I think the government probably will claim back the discount.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
so yes, if you are in a position to buy, my advice would be go for it. You 5 years 10 years down the line, you realize you're in a better position than subsidize rent. I think many people hold on to the subsidized rent. Yes, I get that. But if you really want to build wealth, then you want to actually buy the property of the council.
With regards to management, I understand that you manage other people's properties as well.
Absolutely.
Now, if anyone's watching and they've got a property, they're struggling to sort of like manage it, manage their tenants, if someone's looking for a person such as yourself to help them with management, how do they get hold of you?
Yeah, I think even before I give out my details, I just like to talk about how I even got into management.
Okay.
Because with our first rental property, it was managed so we gave it to an agent to manage. But for some reason, because my day job, I work in customer facing.
Right.
And, I like to believe, or I've been told, I'm quite good with relating with people.
Right.
And then also, my customer service skills. I think I work, I get commendation on, my customer service skills and stuff. So though the property was being managed by a letting agent, but I always gave my details to a tenant,
Right.
to say, if any challenge that you're unable to get hold of the agent, or they're unable to get certain things done on time, reach out to me. And so I've always partly managed. And I had several complaints from tenants, with regards to the agent. One group of tenants, when they were moving up, when they handed in the notice, and I spoke to them, they said, Basco, if you were managing this property yourself, we wouldn't be moving out. So that got me thinking about, managing a property. So since that feedback, I took the property off the agent.
Right,
managing it myself. And then I think personally, I relate well with people. I like the interaction with people. I like to make sure my tenants are comfortable. So I do enjoy the management side of things. And so from there, friends have also handed their properties to me to manage.
Okay.
So in terms of management, if you want to reach out, I'm on all the socials as Basco Abo, Instagram Basco Abo, Facebook Basco Abo, LinkedIn Basco Abo. If you know of anyone who's got property struggling to manage it, or you've got property struggling to manage it, feel free to reach out, and it will be of an assistance to you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Basco, for taking time to talk to us. We wish you the very best in your pursuit for more and more and more business. Guys, it has been another episode of the property journey. My name is Tom Obo. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, leave me some comments below. Also, let me know what content you would love to see on the channel. We have plans of talking to mortgage brokers about fixing your credit score, getting on the property ladder, securing a mortgage. Let me know what content you would love to see on the channel. Thank you so much for taking time to watch.